Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Diana Cole. And she's here today to share with us her new book, Spirit Translator, 7 Truths for Creating Well-Being and Connecting with Spirit. Now, have you always wanted to learn how to connect with your spirit guides, but didn't know where to start? Well, we're going to share with you how to do just that. As a spirit translator, Diana Cole has asked Spirit thousands of questions on behalf of her clients and herself. These messages are distilled into 7 transformative truths for well-being and happiness. Now, Diana Cole is a spirit translator, thought leader, and author. Passionate about spirit guidance, she is committed to teaching people how to access it for themselves so they may find freedom from pain and limitation and live a life of abundance, fun, and inspiration. Diana offers her empowering tools for spirit guidance in group settings, speaking engagements, live workshops, and online on Instagram and her Facebook communities. So let's welcome to the show, Diana Cole.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You know, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. I have to tell you, okay, so once I picked up this book, I could not put it down. It is really great. And I have to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I think that the thing that really inspired me was the fact that I got to a place in my life where I was what I call my low. It was my low point. And I didn't know how to get myself out of it. So I went back to what I knew, which was my spirit communication that I had learned as a child. And it really transformed my life. My life changed so quickly and so miraculously that I decided that all of my notebooks of notes I had written, I needed to put into a book so that other people would be able to use the same advice that I was getting to help them transform their lives and improve their lives.
Well, I love how you brought all of this together. And it's interesting. We're in this really unique time where people are wanting to become more connected to spirit. You know, as time has gone on, many people have been kind of isolated in many ways. And so we're diving in and, having that connection with spirit is something that I hear people want all the time.
Yeah, I agree. And, what's interesting is I hear people talking about it like it's hard, or it's impossible, or it sounds nice, but, that doesn't really happen. I think there's a lot of apprehension around it. And the fact is, it's just so easy and it's so available to all of us.
What do you think are some of the main reasons people make it so difficult or throw up so many roadblocks?
I think the main reason is that we're not taught as children that it's possible, and we're not taught a process for having this communication internally. So it becomes something as we get older that just seems odd, or there's doubt around it. And if you have doubt around any kind of communication, you're blocking the flow of the information.
It's interesting. I think people go into spirit communication thinking it's supposed to look, and I'm doing little air quotes here, a certain way. Like they're supposed to see angels line up outside their door ready to talk to them. And while it could look like that for some people, majority of people may have that kind of communication in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not scary or ghosty. It's not something that should feel like, like it's harmful to you. It should be so effortless and so easy. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this book forward is because we are all in communication all the time without even realizing it. We have urges and nudges and coincidences around us all the time. And that is spirit communication. And sometimes we're missing it. So I really wanted to help people see that there is spirit around them and they are being guided. And that the more that they pay attention to that and try to have this conversation with it, the more miracles they'll see in their lives, the more happiness that they'll feel.
Well, why don't we break this down just a little bit for our listeners that might be new to this? So, when we talk about Spirit Translator, what is that?
Well, I call myself a spirit translator because what I believe I'm doing is translating messages I'm hearing so that others can access the information. So I'm able to access this information from just a high intelligence energy, and I write down what I hear or I speak it, depending on where I am, and I can give information to people based on questions that they ask or just based on my own experience, like I did in the book. So I'm really translating what I'm hearing. It's not coming from my thinking brain.
So, in your book, you talk about 7 truths, and we're not going to dive into them all, but I'd like for you to just kind of briefly share with us what those are.
Okay. Well, the 7 truths are the things or the things that we need to remember to have in our lives, to believe in and to go back to so that we can have a better life experience. So, for example, truth one is thought is the action that creates your life. And, we've all heard about how thoughts are things and that we create our world with thoughts. There have been so many people who have said that in the past, some that are living and some that are no longer living. And they're all right. And I think that the information I received was just framed slightly differently in a way that I understood it. And I was able to change my thought patterns, but it wasn't really accessible to me until I heard it in a way that I could digest it. So some of this information won't feel super new, but I think it will feel like I'm saying it in a different way.
Well, I appreciate that. And I love how you start with number one, thoughts. Really kind of it's the whole creation process is kind of what you discuss about it. And in your book, you talk about, when things got really tough, you just got into this quiet silence and you began to hear. And I think a lot of people can really relate to that right now because there are so many people going through their own worry and their own process of thinking, gosh, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to take care of buying food or whatever the problem is that they have, and being able to get out of that into a place where you could start creating a future that's different, I think is so empowering.
It is empowering. And, it sounds, I hate to say it sometimes because I think it sounds dismissive, but it really isn't when I say this. You have to be happy no matter what. And I know that sounds terrible for some people because they're going through some really, really hard losses and adjustments and some times that are really, really scary. But the minute you embrace wherever you are and whatever your life looks like, and you say thank you, things start to shift.
I love that. And are these shifts something that can happen really quickly, or is it something that takes a long time?
I believe they happen instantly. The more you embrace the life you're living today, the more you say thank you for your situation today, no matter what, you're opening the universe to give you more of what you're thankful for, more of what you feel gratitude for. That's how spirit communication works, right? We get what we think about. So when we're standing in a moment of being grateful and being happy no matter what, more happiness is brought towards us and things start shifting so that what we see out of our eyes look better than they did before.
Sometimes it's a shift in perspective to get there, but it's a very powerful one, especially when we stand knowing that we are the powerful creators of our own existence, that we can move these things from, whatever challenge that we're facing today into maybe something that would be more of what we're really desiring.
Exactly. I mean, for me, the shift started happening when I felt like I was at such a low that I was in surrender. It was like, things can't get any worse, or I didn't think they could. And I was like, okay, you know what? Thank you for just the life I'm living today. Thank you for the beauty I see outside my window. Thank you for my dog, right? The minute I just started being thankful for the small things that I wasn't paying attention to, and I stopped focusing on the things that were bringing me to my low, I felt something different happening inside me. And within months, my whole life was different.
So, what do you think really guided you during that time? Was it your feelings? What really kind of put you on the path that you wanted?
Well, I think that it was my question and answer process that I went through, which I teach at the end of the book so that everyone can do this for themselves. But I think it really was needing to have the guidance to get myself out of this place. And, I needed to, in a sense, become my own therapist because there wasn't anybody on the outside world that was going to tell me what to do. I wasn't going to get a learning manual for how to get out of a tough spot. And there wasn't anybody I could reach out to who I thought really had the loving patience and all-knowing guidance to give me the secret medicine, right? So I really decided that what I hear, I'm going to follow, even if it sounds, easy or hard or whatever. I'm going to follow it, and I'm just going to see what happens. And when I asked questions and I got answers and I followed them to the T, everything started changing. And I realized that these answers weren't for me. They're for everyone because I believe we all have very similar questions.
So, is the connection we have with spirit something that anyone can develop, or is it only for a few gifted people such as yourself?
What I believe is that spirit guidance is here for all of us. And some of us may have already learned how to do it at a younger age, and some of us may be new to it. So if you're new to it, it might feel a little odd at first, but it is something that is here for all of us.
I think that's so empowering because I think most of the time when people say, they hear the word spirit or, you kind of think about you're having this kind of connection. Again, I think they feel that it should look a certain way. And when we really kind of dive into it, I mean, it could be as simple as maybe seeing something that's repetitive, just these different signs that show up for us.
Exactly. Or, have you ever had that experience where you think about somebody and they call you?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. Or you think about something just randomly and then like it'll be on the TV or, we all have these coincidences around us, but the coincidences are signs. We're putting focus somewhere and then we're watching it come toward us. It's almost like a little nudge saying, you can create what you're thinking about. Look, you thought about this person and they called you. You thought about, some sort of a food and it's on TV, or you thought about something and you see it right in front of you. I mean, this is part of it, right? So if you can change your thought patterns, knowing that you create what you think about, you really start feeling like you're powerful.
So when people are expecting to hear some kind of messages from spirit, where can they start? How do they start opening themselves up so that they can become, that spirit translator that they're looking to develop within themselves?
The first thing sounds so easy, and I believe it's not as easy as it sounds, but it's getting quiet and turning off the noise, turning off the news, turning off sounds from other people, turning off your internal self-talk, turning off the chatter that, is constantly around you in your head and outside, and just getting really, really, really quiet and still and open. And then when you start asking questions, you can feel the answers coming toward you.
You go through these lists of truths and they all make perfect sense when you read them. And I was actually a little surprised by truth number 6, where it talks about the earth is your guru. And I'd love for you to expand on that for our listeners.
Okay. One of the questions I had when I was, in the space of needing guidance was, how do I learn, what I'm hearing? How do I learn this? What is here for me that will give me concrete evidence that what I'm hearing is true or that I can change how I feel. And what I got in response was that the earth and everything in nature is here for us to teach us what is important and to help keep us on track. So when you can appreciate the beauty around you, when you can appreciate, the flowers that are blooming on the tree outside your window, when you can appreciate all the beauty that's here, the sky, the vastness of the sky, the power of the ocean. And when you start mimicking some of these things in nature, when you start being unapologetic about your strength and your power, but with good intention, like the ocean, when you realize you have the power of the ocean tide, but you're also just a part of this earth that we're all sharing. We're all connected through the earth.
Yeah, that's so important. And, in your book, you mention, you say here, you can choose, which I think is so important because a lot of times people think the world is happening to them, that they're not this great creator that's actually functioning in the world. And says, rather than focusing on the chaos that swirls among people, nations, and cultures, look to the earth for clues on how to live in harmony. And you know what? We look at this every day. It's like, the butterflies and the birds don't worry about how they're going to manage, they just do.
Right. And it doesn't matter what's happening in our world. They're still looking like they're happily, going from flower to flower or flying in the sky effortlessly. We are very affected by what we hear and what we see. And that guides our feeling mechanism, right? But when you can shut off all that outside stuff and you can really, just sit and watch a bird for 10 minutes, you do feel something different happening. You do feel this little piece of joy that you didn't have before you watched the bird for 10 minutes. And, it like I said, it sounds so easy, but I don't think that a lot of us are spending a lot of time focusing on that.
Yeah, for the most part, people are not. They're so connected to all their devices, probably too much coffee, not enough sleep, pretty high strung, and no connection to nature. So you look at this and it looks like it's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as things get harder for us, we turn away from nature more and more because we're worried about everything. So we're trying to fix everything in our lives or tend to the things that are worrying us, right? Which is exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. When you're feeling at your worst, that's when it's time to take a moment and turn everything off and just look outside your window or walk outside your front door.
Yeah, getting that grounding from just being outside, being in nature, it kind of helps get things in a place where you really are seeing what really matters as opposed to listening to all that chatter.
Yes.
So when you're working with people and they initially come to you, is there pretty much like a detox that they do from, these kind of things that they have to, you have them detox maybe from their devices and TVs and things like that?
Well, it depends what people are coming to me for. When they're learning spirit communication, yes, that is one of the things that I ask them to do. But when I am, asked to do a reading for someone, they send me a list of questions that I have spirit answer for them. And what I found is that although the questions seem different, they're all the same, really. The underlying question that I think most of us feel is we want to know how to feel better. Everybody wants to know how to feel better. That is the underlying question behind every question.
I think that's everyone's question is right. You're right about that. Because when you look at our experience, it's like, okay, I lost my job today, or, my kids are fighting and I'm having to homeschool and maybe I've never done that before. And, maybe we're not getting along with our family so much. So how do we feel better during times like that?
Well, I think that the best way to feel better is to get quiet, go inside and have a conversation that is loving and guides you toward a place where you feel better. Because The thing is, and I do say this in the book, that in order to feel better, you have to start feeling better first, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like, and I use this word, you almost have to kind of trick yourself at first. You almost have to fake it till you make it. You almost have to decide, you know what, I'm going to feel good right now. And look out the window and look at something that makes you feel good and start there. Feeling good helps you feel better and better and better and better. It's all of those feelings, like feelings, attached to each other. So even in good times, even in times where people are not feeling like they're losing their jobs or they're losing loved ones, or they're homeschooling their kids, even in times where people can say, and I'll use air quotes, like, I feel good, even in those moments, people want to feel better, and I think that it's unfortunate that more of us don't know that we can feel as good as we want to feel. It's just that we have to turn everything else off and go inside.
I know in your book you talk about how feelings are our compass. So when we're at this point where we're like, well, I'm not feeling so good, how do we point our compass due north?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, the other thing that I talk about in here in that chapter is that a lot of us are good at turning off our feelings, right? So we feel something and then we go, no, 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 no. And we push it aside because we're taking care of somebody else, or because we have to do the things we don't want to do, right? Like, I don't want to go to work today. And you shut that off because you have to go to work today, right? So the first step there is honoring how you feel and really allowing yourself to feel the way you feel and sitting in that. If I don't feel like doing something, I need to know why I don't feel like doing something. I need to change the way I'm looking at it. And then I need to make steps to not feel that way about that thing again so that I can feel better. The only way that you can feel better about anything is to first understand how you actually feel about that thing to start with.
Yeah, it's a really profound, observation, because I think a lot of times people are just like, maybe kind of bouncing around like a pinball in a machine, trying to, feel something that's better, but not really understanding how to get there. And you really have that well mapped out in your book.
Thank you. One of the things that I use in the book, and I'm going to bring it up now because I think it makes sense with what we're discussing, is, the example of wanting a new car, right? And I wanted to start somewhere where I felt like everybody at one point in their lives has had that feeling, whether you're 16 years old or, 50 years old, there's been a point in your life where you wanted a new car, right? And it was exciting to think about that new car. You wanted that new car. It was so exciting thinking, I want that car. You might have thought, I won't get it. And you might not have. You might have thought, oh, I will get it. And you did. But you had that feeling of, I want that car. I want that car. Well, if you've ever had that feeling and then you got that car felt really nice to you for a couple weeks. But then it got dirty. Then it got old. And then you wanted another car. You wanted to trade up again, right? It wasn't the car that made you happy. It was the feeling that you thought you'd have when you got the car. So what I try to get people to do is to sit in that feeling, like sit down, get quiet, and sit in your new car right now and feel it. And feel it for as long as you can. Sit with that feeling for 15 minutes. Smell the leather in your mind. Imagine how pretty it feels to you when you sit in it. Imagine how successful you feel that you were able to earn it. Imagine all the things that you think that will make you happy about that new car. Imagine it now and live in that feeling, because that feeling multiplies. You don't need the car. You don't need the new job. You don't need the new boyfriend. You need the feeling of what you think those things will bring you.
And that's exactly where all the magic happens, is in that feeling. Yeah. And are you feeling that with your heart, or is this something you're doing with your mind, or a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, when you have a feeling for yourself, when you feel excited about something, right? And you know that feeling because we've all had a feeling of excitement. It could be about a new relationship, or, if you just get a new puppy, or you find out you're pregnant, or, you get a piece of jewelry or whatever it is, right? You get that little kind of butterfly feeling like, like it's like you're excited. It's holding on to that. It's really diving into that. Like, wow, like when did I feel that before? And how can I feel it again right now? Like, what made me feel like that? How did I get there? What was a feeling I had in my body, and trying to recreate it in your mind.
I love in your book, you talk about kindness is your God power. So I'd love for you to dive in on that with us.
That is my favorite truth of all of them, because I think it's the most important and the most overlooked. The more that we live in judgment, and it's all around us, it's reality TV, it's judgment shows, it's the news, it's political, it's Twitter, it's everywhere. And the more we judge other people, the more we deplete our own energy field. And what happens is when you do that, you are blocking the flow of happiness to come toward you. It's really important to think good thoughts about other people and to say nice words about other people. But here's the thing. It's really important to say kind words to yourself. That's where it starts. And, I think that a lot of us have this tendency of sort of beating ourselves up internally. Like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why did I eat that cupcake? What, right? We're constantly saying these things to ourselves that are not kind. And it needs to start with saying kind words to yourself. You become so much more powerful when you are saying nice things to yourself and to other people.
I think that is so important. I mean, because we have these thoughts going through our brain every day. And it could be like, gosh, my hair's not looking right. I don't like how this outfit looks on me. It could be anything. But it's this constant chatter of negativity, and being able to, pretty much shut that off and get into a place of gratitude for ourselves, our journey, the challenges that we've had that have brought us to the place that we are, I think is just so empowering.
I think that it is. I think it's really important to put focus there. The thing that I'm starting to really feel the more that I'm doing this translating is that, we're not here for as long as we like. None of us are. Whether we're getting sick when we're young or we're living to, a quote unquote old age, none of us are here as long as we want to be here. And the shame is that we're wasting so many precious moments saying bad things to ourselves about ourselves, when we could be living in so much more joy and having so much more fun if we just started speaking to ourselves kindly. Like, and in one of my classes, I say to people, talk to yourself like you are your own boyfriend or girlfriend. Talk to yourself like someone you love. And just, the happiness inside you does increase.
Yeah, that's such a powerful place to come from, and you're so right. I mean, most people, as they're going through their day, they're not really treating themselves like that. But what a paradigm shift if they start making that discussion, that inner discussion, as if it was someone that you loved.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm trying to teach is how to live your life at full power. And what I mean by that is become the most powerful version of you can be by holding yourself up first and recognizing how miraculous and amazing and gorgeous and beautiful you are. And go out with that energy. Imagine a world where every single person today went out with that energy. It would be so different.
Yeah, my goodness, what a great place to come from. I'd love for you to share with our listeners what it feels like for you when you connect with spirit. Because I think if people can get into the emotional aspect of that, it might be something that they want to cultivate within themselves.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's just so natural because I learned it when I was 4. That's when I started doing it. But it feels quiet and it feels loving and it feels like I am being guided by a force that loves every single person in the world as much as they love me and has 100% of my best interests at heart and wants me to succeed and be happy and feel good. And those are the actual feelings I feel when I hear I usually write everything down because it comes so fast for me that I'm filling up, notepads of paper until my pen runs out. And I'm not thinking through the process. In fact, I have to go back and read it a few times to know what I wrote. So for me, it feels meditative and quiet and loving and nourishing.
I think that is beautiful. I mean, what a great world it would be if everyone came from a place like that, where they're just really connected with spirit and being able to have that deep relationship with spirit.
I think that it's the most important thing that we can do for ourselves. I honestly do. And that's why, I wrote the book, and that's why I'm going to do my best to teach as many people as I can how to do it.
I can see why this is your soul's mission to do this. I mean, coming in at 4, knowing this information, being this connected, and teaching people that they can do it too. I mean, what a visionary you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just feel like I'm a conduit. I have the information, and it's up to me to get it out.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're also known as a positive thought warrior. I'd love for you to share with us why that is.
Well, at the beginning, before the book came out, so at the beginning of all this, the first truth was about thoughts creating your life. And what I was told, what I was, feeling is that I needed to become, I was given these words like from spirit that I needed to become a positive thought warrior. I needed to become somebody who, used positive thought as my weapon of choice for anything that I thought came toward me that could harm me, or just to protect myself when I went out into the world and I saw something around me that felt not good to me. I needed to use positive thought to help, hyperspace me out of any situation. And that was the first thing I started teaching and talking about, was because that was the first truth that came to me. And in fact, that is turning into a whole other life of its own, because my daughter and I, during this pandemic, wrote a children's book called Alina, the Positive Thought Warrior, that's coming out at the end of the year.
I love that.
Try to teach it to children.
Well, and it's great to have that develop from something. I mean, because a lot of people look at the time that we've had, and they're like, my goodness, we've had to stay inside, and here you are creating something brand new that can help people, and especially children. I mean, because I think that once they get this, it will serve them their entire lives.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've really been thinking about during the stay home time, is how can I teach children at a young age how to think positively, or how can I teach the truth, right, to children who are young, like I was, because the younger you learn these things, the more easy it is to live lives, full of these truths. It's harder when you're learning them midlife, right? And it's so much easier if you learn them at 6 years old. So one of the things I'm challenging myself with in 2021 is figuring out how to teach the truth to children.
Well, I applaud you on your journey. And my goodness, we could sit here, talk all day long, Diana. Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work and be part of your community?
2 places. Well, the first place to go would be my website, which is dianacole.com. And I'm also really active on Instagram. And my Instagram handle is the Diana Cole. So those are the best 2 places to start.
Well, Diana, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Diana. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Spirit Translator, 7 Truths for Creating Well-Being and Connecting with Spirit. Spirit Translator is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. And of course, it's available on Kindle. Again, if you'd like to connect with Diana, you can at dianacole.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.